My brother borrowed $10,000 for medical bills. Months later, he bought a new car. When I asked about the money, my mother said, "Family doesn't keep score." At my brother's housewarming, my 7-year-old daughter approached him with a beautifully wrapped gift. She said loudly, "Uncle Danny, Mom wanted you to have this. It's copies of the police report from your accident, the one that never happened." I used to believe that family meant unconditional trust. I believed it so deeply that when my younger brother Danny told me he'd been in a horrible car accident and needed $10,000 for medical bills, I didn't think twice. I took out a loan I could barely afford. I told myself that's what big sisters do. I told myself family wouldn't betray me. I was wrong. That money didn't save Danny's life. It bought him a brand new car. And when I asked him about it months later, my own mother looked me in the eye and said, "Emily, family doesn't keep score. Let it go." That was the moment I knew something inside me had snapped. I'm Emily Lawson. I'm 36 years old, a single mother, and a senior nurse at Mercy General Hospital in Colorado Springs. I've spent most of my life trying to do the right thing, show up for people, give them the benefit of the doubt, be the responsible one. I don't drink much. I don't party. And most nights I'm either working a late shift or helping my 7-year-old daughter Rhea with homework. But I'll be honest, somewhere along the way, I became the reliable one people leaned on, but didn't respect. My brother Danny is 32. He's the kind of guy people describe as full of potential, which is just a polite way of saying he never lives up to any of it. Charming, funny, never without a story to tell. The kind of guy who could convince you the sky was green if he smiled while saying it. Ever since we were kids, he had this aura about him, like life was a game, and the rest of us were just there to help him level up, especially Mom. Our mom, Patricia, is 62. She worked 30 years as a librarian, which means she raised us both on her own after our dad passed when I was just 10. But to her, Danny was always the miracle child. I was the dependable workhorse, the one who helped with chores, made straight A's, and stayed out of trouble. Danny, he was the kid who could do no wrong even when he was literally doing wrong. It's always been like that, me being practical, Danny being Danny. But I thought adulthood would level us out. I thought maybe growing up meant growing up. I couldn't have been more naive. I have a daughter, Mia. She's 7, all sunshine and questions, and way too smart for her age. She loves her Uncle Danny. I think it's because he's the only one in the family who makes her feel like life is just one big adventure. He lets her stay up late and eat marshmallows straight from the bag, and she thinks that's magic. I used to think it was sweet. Now I see that a man who never had to face consequences turned into a man who hides behind charm to avoid accountability. You may be wondering how a man like that ends up with a $10,000 gift from his struggling single mother sister. I still wonder that myself. That story begins the day Danny called me crying. He said, "Em, I'm in so much pain. I messed up. I had an accident. I don't have insurance that covers this. I'm scared." His voice cracked. He knew exactly what strings to pull, my loyalty, my duty, my guilt, and I fell for it. I went to the bank the next morning, signed the paperwork, wired the money directly to him. I didn't even ask for proof, because it was Danny. Fast forward to 3 months later, no accident scars, no medical bills, no follow-ups. What there was, though, was a brand new Tesla parked in his driveway, Danny grinning next to it like a game show contestant holding a giant check. The moment I saw it, something in me froze. He waved, tried to play it off, said, "Oh, hey, I got an amazing deal on it." But all I could hear was my own heartbeat thudding in my ears, louder than his excuses, louder than my own shame. And when I confronted him later, my mother, Patricia, wrapped her arm around him and told me, "Emily, this isn't worth ruining your relationship over. Family doesn't keep score." That was the moment I realized. Maybe family should keep score, especially when one player keeps cheating. This story isn't just about $10,000. It's about betrayal, loyalty, and how far someone will go when the truth is finally louder than the lies. And it all comes to a head at Danny's housewarming party, where my daughter, my sweet innocent Mia, delivered the one gift Danny could never return. So stay with me. Because the truth? It has a way of showing up, even when you try to bury it under new leather seats and a shiny coat of paint. My name is Emily Lawson, and for as long as I can remember, I've lived in a world of responsibility. Not the heavy, self-imposed kind. Not always. Mostly, it's been the kind handed to me like a family heirloom with the soft smile of expectation behind it. I was the kid who did her homework without being asked. I was the teen who got her first job to help with groceries. I was the woman who chose nursing because I thought, deep down, making myself useful was the best way to earn love. I was always the one who made sure everything was okay, even when nothing was okay for me. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Colorado Springs with my daughter, Mia. It's not much, but it's safe, warm, and filled with laughter whenever she's around. She's 7, with the kind of curiosity that makes you rethink the world you thought you knew. Mia is the person who keeps me grounded when life feels like it's spinning out of control. She'll crawl into my lap when she sees I'm overwhelmed, pat my face with her tiny hand, and say, "Mommy, breathe. I learned that in school. It's good for your heart." And somehow, just like that, the weight of the day lightens. Her father, my ex-husband Ryan, left when she was 4. He said he couldn't handle the pressure, that he wasn't ready for the kind of life we had. Translation, he wasn't ready to grow up. But Mia's never lacked love, not one bit. Between school spirit days, weekend cookie baking, and bedtime stories that always end in giggles, she holds the best parts of me. I've worked as a senior nurse at Mercy General Hospital for almost 10 years now. I see lives change in a heartbeat. I see how fragile everything really is. I've helped people who've never said thank you, and others who cry tears of relief when you just hold their hand. That's the job. It teaches you compassion, resilience, and sometimes, which I had forgotten, boundaries. My family lives 5 miles away from me on the other side of town, closer than I'd like some days. My mother, Patricia, is a retired librarian who's always believed in the power of second chances, especially for my younger brother, Danny. You'd think he'd be a doctor with the way she praises him, but Danny is the master of sliding out of trouble. Growing up, I'd get lectured for getting a B+. Danny once set our garage on fire trying to build a science experiment and somehow became the victim in the story. Boys are just different, my mother used to say when I questioned it. He'll find his way. But Danny never found his way. He just learned how to use ours. He's 32 now and still plays life like a poker game. He's always on the verge of winning. He's funny, smart, and somehow convinces everyone he's the one being wronged, even when the evidence is stacked against him like bills on his kitchen table. I don't know if it's charm or deflection, but for years he floated through life, cushioned by my mother's blind trust and everyone else's unwillingness to call him out. Before my loan to him, Danny and Mia were inseparable. Every time he came over, she'd rush to him with artwork she'd made or books she wanted him to read. He'd sit with her, cross-legged on the floor, and listen like she was reading Shakespeare. She called him Uncle Dandelion, because his hair was always sticking up in different directions like the flower. I used to laugh at that. Now it just breaks me a little. The thing is, I loved that he loved her. I wanted so badly for her to have a positive relationship with family, especially after her father left. That's why I looked the other way when things didn't add up, when he said he needed space but was always crashing on different couches, when he said he lost his wallet but somehow still had new shoes, when he said he needed $10,000 for medical bills, and I didn't even question it, because if I didn't help him, who would? That thought felt noble at the time. Now it feels foolish. Before the conflict began, before I learned the truth, I was tired, stretched thin, but hopeful. I genuinely believed family was worth the risk. That blood carried a kind of loyalty we should always trust. I believed Danny had finally hit rock bottom, and that if I didn't help him, I might lose him. I believed in redemption, in support, in unconditional love. I believed that being a good sister meant being a good person, but I was wrong. So terribly, painfully wrong. It all began on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I was on my lunch break at the hospital, sitting in the cramped staff room with a cup of coffee that had gone cold before I even got to drink it. My phone buzzed. It was Danny. I answered, expecting a casual conversation, maybe one of his usual stories about job hunting or some big idea he was working on. But this time, his voice, a shaky whisper, cut straight through my chest. "Emily, I messed up. I need your help, please," he said. I held my breath. Something in his tone wasn't familiar, or maybe it was. I just hadn't heard it in a while. "What happened?" I asked, suddenly anxious. "I was in a car accident. It's bad. I messed up my arm, my neck. I'm in the ER right now. The doctor says surgery could cost thousands," he choked back, sounding defeated. I don't have insurance that'll cover all of it. They're asking for money up front." My heart sank. I leaned forward, pressing the phone tighter to my ear. Danny didn't sound like Danny. He sounded small, broken. I could hear beeping machines and muffled voices in the background. It felt real. "I don't know who else to call. I don't want to die, Emily." Those words. I can still hear them. They were like a fist around my heart. I didn't ask for proof. I didn't ask for a bill or a doctor's note. My brother was scared, and I was his sister. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll help you. How much do you need?" He asked for $10,000. I didn't even blink. I told him I would get it to him. He said, "Thank you, Em. I'll pay you back. I mean it this time. I promise." The same afternoon, I walked into my bank and applied for a loan. I told myself I'd figure it out, longer shifts, tighter budgeting. It would hurt, but not as much as knowing I let my brother down when he really needed me. A week later, he texted me a single heart emoji and a thumbs up when the money hit his account. I waited for a call, an update, maybe a healing process, but that was it. Silence. Weeks turned into months. I carried on with life. Work, Mia, bills, but a small knot of unease sat in my stomach. Things didn't feel right. Mia would ask, "When is Uncle Danny coming over?" And I'd shrug, trying not to show my concerns. I didn't want her to feel what I was starting to feel. 3 months later, I got my answer. I was driving home from work with Mia in the back seat. She was humming that song from the latest Disney movie, and I was trying to stay awake when I turned onto Danny's street. I wasn't planning to stop. I needed to see he was okay. And then I saw it. A brand new Tesla Model 3 parked in his driveway, metallic blue, still gleaming like it had just rolled off the lot. My jaw dropped. My hands tightened around the steering wheel so hard I thought it might snap. Mia looked up. "Ooh, pretty car," she said, eyes wide. I felt my heart hammering in my chest. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I parked the car and marched up to the front door, my daughter trailing behind me. Danny opened the door, wearing that same cocky, easygoing grin he always wore. "Hey, Em, surprise visit?" he said, arms open like nothing was wrong. "Whose car is that?" I asked, my voice tight. "Oh, that? Got an incredible deal. You wouldn't believe the rebate," he said, leaning against the doorframe, half laughing. "It's a business investment." Business investment, medical bills. 2 wildly different stories. My face went numb. "You said you were in an accident," I said coldly. "You said you needed money for surgery." He blinked. "Well, yeah, I got things figured out. I mean, the timing worked out. I got approved for a credit fix." "Stop," I said. "Just stop." That night I called Mom, hoping, praying she'd finally see it. Her response, "Emily, this is just money. Your brother is finally doing something with his life. Why do you have to make everything a fight? Family doesn't keep score." In that moment, I realized the truth. My family didn't acknowledge the cost of enabling, but it was costing me everything. That betrayal didn't just wound me, it broke something inside me that I couldn't ignore anymore. And that's when I decided I was done staying quiet. Anger is a powerful thing, but it's also blinding. The night I confronted Danny about the Tesla, I drove home shaking. My daughter, Mia, noticed. She asked, "Mom, you okay?" And that innocent question broke me more than anything Danny had said. Because no, I wasn't okay. I was hurt. I was humiliated. And worst of all, I had let it happen. That night, when Mia was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of cold chamomile tea. I opened my bank's loan account, staring at the $10,000 balance. Every number felt like a bruise. I clicked over to my budgeting spreadsheet. Rent, groceries, Mia's school supplies. I was in the red. And in that moment, something inside me snapped into focus. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about respect. It was about truth. It was about not letting my daughter think she has to stay silent when someone she loves lies to her. So I did what I've spent my entire life training myself not to do. I decided to fight back. I started by looking up public record databases. I knew how to do this. Nurses file reports all the time. If Danny had been in an accident, there would be a record, an insurance claim, a doctor's visit, something. But there was nothing. No police report, no hospital admission, no ER visit under his name in the past year. The more I dug, the more my stomach churned. Danny had lied. A week later, I showed up at the garage that was listed as the Tesla's dealership. The owner, a tired-looking guy named Rick, wasn't hard to find. I told him I was Danny's sister and asked how my brother had managed to buy such an expensive car after an accident. He looked at me, raised a brow, and said, "Accident?" He came in here smiling like he won the lottery, said he had a generous family member who bailed him out of some financial mess. I felt my throat burn. He told me it was for medical bills. Rick shrugged. "Lady, lots of people lie. Most of the time it's for cars. This one wasn't even fully paid off. He just made the down payment to qualify. Pretty sure he's stretching the rest." I thanked him, walked outside, and sat in my car for a long time, gripping the steering wheel. I wasn't sad anymore. I was done. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was the fact that Danny never once thought twice about lying to me. And my mother, the person who should have defended me, had told me to stay quiet. Again. When I got home that night, Mia was drawing at the kitchen table. She looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, is Uncle Danny coming to my birthday?" I hesitated. "Maybe," I said, my voice tired. She paused, studying my face like the truth was written there. "Did he make you sad?" Kids notice everything. That was the moment I realized this fight wasn't just for me. It was for her. For every time she'd see someone try to walk over her kind heart, I needed to model what strength looked like, even in the face of manipulation. 3 days later, an ivory envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was a housewarming invitation. From Danny. He was moving into a dream home and invited close friends and family to celebrate. The date was in 2 weeks. I stared at the invitation for a long time. I could have torn it up. I could have ignored it. But instead, a calm resolve crept over me. If Danny and my mother wanted to celebrate the illusion of his success, they could. But I was done feeding into it. If they weren't going to let truth in through the front door, I'd deliver it myself. I printed the police report search page, showing Danny had never filed one. I printed the blank hospital admission file. Then I wrote down my loan account number, with the remaining balance circled in red. I placed everything neatly into a small envelope. That night, Mia came up to me holding a sheet of wrapping paper with stars on it. "What are you doing, Mommy?" she asked. "I'm wrapping something important," I said. "Can I help?" She beamed. So we sat together at the table. I told her to fold the corners the way I used to wrap her birthday presents. She stuck a little gold bow on top and wrote in her best handwriting, "To Uncle Danny." She turned to me and said, "Are we going to his party?" I nodded, but this time I wasn't going to be silent. This time I was going to make sure every single person in that room saw my brother for who he really was, and I wasn't going to do it alone. Danny's housewarming party was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon, the kind of late October day where the air is crisp and the trees are halfway between fire and winter. Mia was buzzing with excitement on the drive over, bouncing her legs, holding the neatly wrapped gift in her lap like it was a treasure. "Uncle Danny's gonna love this," she chirped, not knowing what was really inside. I forced a smile. "I'm sure he will. You did a beautiful job wrapping it." She grinned. "I hope he gives it a good spot on his fancy new shelf." "Oh, honey, I hoped something stays on the shelf after today." The house was a 2-story suburban palace, all white siding and black trim, with a driveway full of shiny cars. I parked halfway down the street. I didn't like the idea of getting blocked in. When we arrived, I saw balloons tied to the porch railing, a glittery banner draped across the door that read, "Welcome home, Danny," as if this man had earned something. We walked in. The house was buzzing with people, laughing, drinking, talking about the deal of the decade Danny had pulled off to buy this place. He was in the kitchen, wearing a designer sweater, holding court like a celebrity chef. "Emily," he said when he spotted me, arms stretched wide. His voice rippled over the room. "You made it." I nodded, plastering on my polite smile. "Wouldn't miss it." Mia ran up and hugged him. He scooped her up and spun her around. "Ah, my favorite niece." "She's your only niece," I said lightly, but the tension was already starting to build. My mother, Patricia, appeared from behind the island. She hugged me quickly. "Thank you for coming, honey. Try and relax. Danny's finally doing well. Be happy for him." That was all she said. No apology, no shame, no acknowledgement of the storm brewing just under my skin. I mingled. I nodded when people complimented the house, but my eyes stayed locked on Danny, watching him joke and charm, watching his hand gestures like nothing in the world has ever truly hit him. About an hour in, Danny announced loudly, "Okay, everyone, come on in the living room. I want to do gifts. I mean, what's a housewarming without a little love?" People shuffled to the couch and gathered near the fireplace. Danny sat on a plush gray chair, a pile of gifts next to his foot, bottles of wine, candles, gift baskets. He opened each one, making a show of every reaction. And then Mia stepped forward. She carried her small star-patterned box carefully, holding it with both hands like it was made of glass. She looked over at me, a tiny nervous smile, and then up at her uncle. "Uncle Danny," she started, her voice innocent but clear, "Mom wanted you to have this." Everyone turned. The room quieted like someone had hit pause. Danny grinned, reached for the gift. "Wow, thank you, Peanut. What is it?" He peeled back the paper. The gold bow fell to the floor. He opened the lid and pulled out the stack of printed papers. The room fell into a hush. "What's this?" he said, blinking. His voice was low, suspicious. I stepped forward. "That," I said steadily, "is your missing police report, the one from the accident that never happened." Danny's smile vanished. I kept going. "That second page, that's the blank hospital admission record. No ER visit, no surgery, no doctor. Just you, lying your way into a $10,000 down payment on a Tesla." Whispers broke out around the room. Patricia looked like she'd swallowed a marble. Danny stood suddenly, jaw clenched. What are you doing?" he growled, voice breaking. "I'm telling the truth," I said, loud enough for everyone. "The truth you used to drive this house, this party, and whatever new lie you're planning next, and you did it with money I didn't have to spare," he stammered. "That's not what happened. This is out of context. You're embarrassing yourself." "No," I said calmly, meeting his eyes. "Just you. You did this. You played me. And you let Mom cover for you. You never had a car accident. You never had medical bills. You just had me." Silence. Then one of Danny's friends muttered, "Man, that's messed up." Danny's face was red. "You ruined this," he spat. "You ruined everything." "No," I said again, voice calm. "You did." I turned to Patricia. "This is what not keeping score looks like. You let him take and take until the whole game is rigged." She blinked. Tears filled her eyes, but she said nothing. I took Mia's hand and walked out of that house. No one stopped me. Behind us, a murmur of shifting loyalties, shattered illusions, and the sound of Danny's perfect party falling apart. In my chest, something cracked open. But this time, it wasn't pain. It was relief. There's something surreal about walking away from a place you once desperately wanted to belong. As Mia and I stepped out of Danny's house, the late afternoon light felt different, brighter, like a weight had finally lifted off my shoulders. Mia looked up at me. "Mom, did Uncle Danny get in trouble?" She said it softly, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to ask. I squeezed her hand. "Uncle Danny made a bad choice, and we just told the truth. That's what matters. The truth." She nodded slowly. "I think I like the truth, even when it's kind of yucky." I smiled. That was the lesson I wanted her to learn, one I had taken far too long to realize myself. After that day, everything changed, slowly, uncomfortably, but it did change. Danny didn't call, not to explain, not to apologize. Instead, mutual friends told me he was furious, embarrassed. He told people I set him up. Some believed him, others didn't. But honestly, for the first time in my life, it didn't matter what he said about me. I knew the truth. The people who mattered knew the truth, and that was enough. My mother, Patricia, didn't speak to me for 2 weeks after the incident. When she finally did call, the conversation was heavy with unspoken things. She didn't apologize, but she did say something I never expected to hear. "You've always been stronger than me," she said quietly. I didn't want to believe he'd hurt us like that. I didn't want to see it. She was right. For her, reality was something to be avoided. For me, it had become something I needed to face. I won't pretend everything is perfect. Patricia and I are rebuilding a relationship based on honesty instead of denial. It's still tender. Some days we barely talk, but on other days I catch glimpses of a closeness we never had before. A closeness rooted in truth, not blind loyalty. As for the loan, I paid it off myself. Every month I wrote a check, knowing I wasn't just paying for Danny's car. I was paying for the life lesson I didn't know I needed. It hurt, but each payment was a reminder. I can do hard things. On my own. The biggest transformation, though? It happened inside me. See, I used to think keeping the peace was the highest good. I thought loving people meant never questioning them, never holding them accountable. I thought walking away was losing. But what I learned was that peace without truth is just silence. Forgiveness without responsibility is surrender. And love, real love, requires honesty, even when it burns everything down. That's what I want Mia to remember from all this, that no matter how much someone smiles or how many times they say, "Trust me," if their actions don't match their words, you walk away. You don't lose the relationship. You reclaim your dignity. These days, I'm still a nurse, still a mom, still paying back a loan I didn't deserve. But I'm also something I haven't been in a long time, free. I go to sleep at night knowing I stopped letting someone else write my story. And I wake up every day teaching my daughter, through my actions, not to hand her power away so easily, not even to the people she loves the most. We still see Danny sometimes, not often, but never the same way. Mia still hugs him, still sees the best in people. But she's smarter now, and I'm proud of that. Proud of her. Proud of us. Looking back, I realized something profound. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by boundaries, by respect, by the courage to say, "This is where you stop taking from me." And that, more than anything, is what I want to leave you with today. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to stand up for yourself or break away from toxic loyalty, I hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if this story made you feel something. Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories that matter. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, telling the truth isn't what breaks families. Hiding it is. See you in the next one.